Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you guys my Odd Eyes Magician deck profile for the June 2017 ban list. This is a really interesting deck. It actually was very good back when it first got released, but ever since it was hit, we didn't really see much play. But I think with the release of Link Monsters and Pendulums not being as powerful, they decided to, let loose with this deck, giving it full power once again. So until, the Link Summon rule comes out, I can see this deck doing pretty well in a couple ways. So let's go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. Start off, run 3, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. He's pretty key for a lot of the plays in the deck. Searchable off a lot of cards, and he searches himself for cards with his Pendulum effect. And overall, a very good monster to Pendulum Summon, just for the high attack point power. And off the list at 3 is Wisdom Eye Magician. This card made a lot of plays with the deck back when it first came out, and hopefully, it continues to do so. It's a scale 5 with the effect: if you have a Magician or Performer Pal in your other Pendulum zone, you destroy this card to place one Magician Pendulum from your deck into your Pendulum scale, except for Wisdom Eye. So basically able to search out whatever scale you need for that situation. And then the monster effect is a discard effect that lets you change the scale, basically of a Pendulum card back to its original scale. So you mostly use it for the Pendulum effect to search, because then you can adjust the scales when you want, and then have this waiting in the extra deck for plays. And 3, Oath Dragon Magician. This card helps with recycling cards from your graveyard. It's a scale 2. If you have a Magician in your other Pendulum scale, you can add one face-up Magician or Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Except for Oath Dragon, you can only use the effect once per turn. So the fact that the new Link Summoning will also limit monsters you get special summon from the extra deck, this card will really help just to bounce cards back to your hand to special summon, because there's no limit with the Pendulum Summon when you summon them from your hand, which I think is cool. And the monster effect is, if this card is normal or special summon, you can target one Magician, Pendulum monster, or Odd Eyes monster in your graveyard, except Oath Dragon, add to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Another good card if you make use of both the scale and the monster at the same time. And 3, Dragon Pit Magician. The card preferred to run as the high scale in your Pendulum plays, just for the fact that it's a scale 8. You normally don't want to use Skullcrabat as your scale 8, just for the fact that you want to use its normal summon effect more for search plays. And the Pendulum scale effect allows you to discard a Pendulum monster to target spell or trap on the field, destroy it if you have a Magician in your other Pendulum. So easy to make use of that effect as well. And 1 Noble Dragon Magician. This card's used for the Synchro Power plays. Unless you have a Magician in your other scale, you destroy this card, but you don't really use it for the Pendulum scale. You use it for its effect where it cannot be Synchro Summoned except for the Synchro Summon of a Dragon-type Synchro monster. If this card is used as a Synchro material, unless all other Synchro monsters are Odd Eyes monsters, place this card on the bottom of the deck. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target one level 7 higher Odd Eyes monster you control, reduce its level by 3, and if you do, special summon it. So reducing the Odd Eyes by 3 allows you to go for your level 7 plays, and most of the time you will go for your Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, which will allow you to then special summon, most of the time, your Dragon Pit from the Pendulum scale, and then go into Absolute Dragon for that play. So she really helps in those situations. Plus she's searchable, so not really another reason to run her. You'll get a lot of dread draws if you do that. And back at 3 also, I was happy about this with my Performer Pal deck. 3 Performer Pal Skullcrabat Jokers. It is a searcher, and as I said before, a high scale monster to use, just for the fact that it limits you from Pendulum summoning monsters except for Pendulum Magician monsters, Odd Eyes monsters, and Performer Pals. So with this deck, the scale use of this card is not really limited, and it allows you to search for a Magician, Odd Eyes, or Performer Pal monster when it's normal summon. So basically anything out of the deck you need using this card. And I also run 3 Magical Abductor. This card, you could call it the Royal Magic Library of the Pendulum scale. Each time a spell card is activated, you place 1 spell counter on this card. When that spell counter resolves once per turn, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card to add 1 Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. So easy search, and another good scale to run as a low scale, just for the fact that you'll still be able to summon out a lot of different monsters if your high scale is 8. And the monster effect is, each time a spell card is activated, you place 1 spell counter to this card, and when that spell counter resolves, resolves. This card gains 100 attack for each spell counter on it. Once per turn, you can remove 3 spell counters to add 1 level 1 spellcaster type monster. So the attack boost is mostly used for the secondary effect. Not too many level 1s you can search with this deck, but the Pendulum Scale effect definitely helps with that search power. And I also run 1 Archfiend Eccentric just for that extra pop play that you can go off of using this card. And for the additional Odd Eyes support to go with Sky Iris, I run 1 Light Phoenix for the low scale and 1 Odd Eyes Unicorn for the high scale. I know we're getting some more Odd Eyes support in the upcoming booster pack in June, so definitely looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see how that stuff can play in, because I think a couple of them are even tuners, which can, go for other plays as well at the deck. And I've seen some deck profiles use the Fairy Tale Luna build. If you want to run that, you basically replace the Luster engine that I prefer to use, just because I'm used to the Luster engine, I know how it plays. So just 1 Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer, for the Destruction Pendulum effect. It helps because with this card you can also go for your Ignister and your Dinoster plays, which really help to power up the deck. So 1 Luster Pendulum and 1 Master Pendulum, just so I always have options for the special summon. And plus, if I make Ignister, I can go for the Master and get that special summon off for an additional monster. And for the Dracoverlords, 2 Vector. I just prefer Vector for his Pendulum Scale effect, negate all other Pendulum Zone effects. Plus, pretty good stats as well if you special summoning him out using Rival of the Dracoverlords. Or if that was the name of the card, no, Draco Face Off. My mistake. And then to finish off the monsters, I like 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card, just a good hand trap to run, helps against a lot of decks. Plus the fact that it's also an additional tuner helps in that situation as well. And that is it for the monsters. We'll move on to spells. 3 Pendulum Call. This card is once again off the ban list. It's a discard 1 effect for searching 2 Magician Pendulums, so it helps to search, and then it just protects your scales from being destroyed until the end of your opponent's next turn. So you can't use Wisdom Eyes effect since it is a destroy effect. Other than that, it really helps because it'll get you what you need for the situation, if it's Dragon Pit or Oath Dragon. And if you discard, you can make use of the Oath Dragon effect. Just a lot of different things you can do with this card. And I also like to run 2 Odd Eyes Fusion in my build, just because I can make use of the special summon effect with this card to get out pretty powerful monsters like Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which really help. If you get this card out, then you basically stop a lot of your opponent's plays. It's searchable with Sky Iris, and it also makes use of using monsters from your extra deck if your opponent controls 2 monsters and you control no monsters. And speaking of Sky Iris, I run 2 of this card. Really good with the deck. It helps with a lot of plays for the fact that it can search out Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon or any of the other Pendulum Scales that have Odd Eyes. It protects your Pendulum Scales, and it can also search out Odd Eyes Fusion by just destroying a card on the field. And 1 Secret Village of the Spellcaster. You run plenty of Magician monsters in the deck, so this card comes in handy for the fact that it locks your opponent down from using spells as long as you control a Magician type monster. Other than that, very useful. And 2 Terraforming, just to search out the option I need, whether it be Sky Iris or Secret Village of the Spellcasters. And then to finish off the spells, 1 Ignite Reload for the reshuffle. If I have, not the proper Magicians in my hand, this card helps because it still gives you the +1, so you don't minus off of the Ignite Reload. So I definitely like using this. And 1 Draco Face Off finishes off the main deck. No traps in this deck, going full off of the Pendulum potential using this. Draco Face Off just to search out the Dracoverlord and the Draco Slayer I need for my plays. And that is it for the main deck. We'll move on to the extra. I run 2 Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. It's probably the best Odd Eyes Exceed we've got at the moment. Just needs 2 level 7 monsters, and when any player's monster declares an attack, you can detach 1 Exceeds from this card, negate the attack, then you can special summon 1 Odd Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard. If this Exceed summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck, except for Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. So it's a good one for the negate effect and then the special effect, basically because you'll most of the time be detaching Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon or something like that, so you can re-get that special summon, and very easy to summon this card off because of the Meteor Burst and the Drago Pit play I mentioned earlier. It was a pretty standard play when the deck originally came out. And then for additional exceeds, 1 Dark Rebellion Exceeds Dragon, 1 Heartland Draco, run plenty of face-up spell cards, 1 Trapeze Magician for the Magician cards, Magister Paladin, good for the searching effect for pendulums, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gaga Cowboy, and 1 Castel. And for the synchros, I run the 1 Igniter to help with the Draco's Lair plays, and 2 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. Might actually bump this down to 1, just trying out my different options for synchro monsters. With Ghost Ogre, I do have some variety since Dragon Pit doesn't limit me too much on the synchro, but still very good. And like I said, Draco's Lair. Luster limits you on your synchro for what you can do most of the time, just Igniter with him. And 1 Dinoster, the Mighty Draco Slayer for the fusion. Protection place to protect your pendulum cards, and it's very easy. You just have to contact fuse with the Draco Slayer pendulum monster and 1 pendulum monster. And then for the fusions, I don't have an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. I meant to pick one up at locals today, but no one actually had one for trade, so sad there, but I'll get one eventually, and to be able to run in my future decks, including Performer Pals and whatnot. But 1 Starving Venom Dragon, just as my backups from now. I probably would prefer to run 2 Odd Eyes Vortex, just because the card is really good. But this is an option, just for the fact that you do run plenty of dark monsters that can be on the field to use with Odd Eyes Fusion. And then the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon, excuse me, it's just a proxy for the Odd Eyes Vortex, since I didn't have any other dragons to use. But definitely want to use Odd Eyes Vortex with the Odd Eyes Fusion. It's too good not to, for the bounce effect and then the spell trap negation effect, just by shuffling back a pendulum monster. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, Kira Twig out.